Zweig Group invites all AEC industry leaders to the 2024 AEC Small Business and Entrepreneurship Forum, the premier event for small firms in the AEC sector. Experience innovative strategies and insights on May 21st, crafted by Zweig Group's industry experts. Engage in keynotes and interactive sessions focused on recruitment, retention, and business growth. Join Zweig Group for this unique networking opportunity and take your business to new heights. Secure your spot today and be part of the AEC industry's future. Visit zweiggroup.com for more information. The Zweig Group team looks forward to welcoming you.
Welcome to the Zweig Letter Podcast, putting architectural, engineering, planning, and environmental consulting advice and guidance in your ear. Zweig Group's team of experts have spent more than 3 decades elevating the industry by helping AEP and environmental consulting firms thrive. And these podcasts deliver invaluable management, industry, client, marketing, and HR advice directly to you, free of charge. The Zweig Letter Podcasts, elevating the design industry one episode at a time.
Hey folks, and welcome back to another episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn. I'm excited to be with you today. I'm especially excited because I'm sitting in front of a very dear friend of mine, someone that I connected with when I first moved to Northwest Arkansas. He was one of the first people that I met. His name is Chad Clinehens. He is the CEO of Zweig Group. And I was just telling him that we don't get to hear him that often on this podcast. And I said, we have to change that. And among many Chad's responsibilities, I thought it would be great to bring him on the podcast to talk about the Elevate AEC conference. For those of you that are longtime listeners of the podcast, you guys remember Hot Firm, and Elevate AEC took over and just created a whole new program through Zweig Group. In lieu of Hot Firm, we now have Elevate AEC. And so for those of you that do remember that older program, which was akin, I guess, the easiest way to say it was like the Inc. 500, 5000 for the design industry. It is the seminal program in this industry. I don't know of another program like this outside of, what AIA and ACEC does, but those are industry organizations. And this is a management consulting firm that works with clients all over the world. And they have figured out a way over 35 plus years of how to determine who are the best of the best in the design industry. So today we are going to talk about the upcoming Elevate AEC conference, which takes place in Frisco, Texas in September. And we'll give you all the data and information. And just as a reminder, everything will be on the show notes. And so if you're taking notes, you don't have to take notes. You can just sit back and listen as we talk with Chad Clinehens, CEO of Zweig Group. Chad, how are you doing today?
Great, and thrilled to be here.
That's awesome. So it seems like I told you we have to make this happen more often, because the last time we sat down was about a year ago now.
That's right.
We were talking about the Elevate AEC conference, which was going to take place in September of 2022 in Las Vegas. Now we're talking about the Elevate AEC conference, which is taking place in Frisco, Texas in September of 23. So I'd love for you just to introduce yourself really quickly, and then let's talk about the Elevate AEC conference and what makes it such a unique event in this industry.
Yeah, so a little about myself. I started my career as a civil engineer and worked my way up through the ranks. And just as soon as I could, I got on the business side of the business, and my path was business development to marketing to eventually strategy. And I remember vividly, this was about 15 years ago, we were welcoming a new batch of engineers to our company. They were all recent graduates. And the CEO of the company I was with, Garver at the time, said to the group, they don't make TV shows about engineers and architects like they do lawyers and ERs and all of the other professions. And, that really stuck with me. And it was that statement that actually led to the creation of Elevate the Industry as our new mission at Zweig Group. We rolled it out 5 years ago, actually, in Dallas, Texas in 2018. And it was that conference that was named Hot Firm that we said all future conferences will be called Elevate AEC. And it's a more inspired, I would say, gathering, because now we're talking about it's not just a conference to go get an award. It is now a conference, and we say the pillars are network, learn, and celebrate. And all three of those pillars of not only the event are also pillars of the mission. And that is when we gather and we talk about the business and we talk about how we can help each other and how we can elevate ourselves as leaders, how we can elevate our firms. Ultimately, we elevate the industry together. And it ties back to JFK's quote, "A rising tide lifts all ships." And so this Elevate AEC Conference and Awards Gala, which is what we call it now, is, I would say, an evolved version of Hot Firm, which, and you hit the nail on the head. It was inspired by the Inc. 500, 5000 conference. And we have a great time. We have big celebration of our award winners. We talk a lot about business performance, but also we talk about how can we drive purpose in our firms for our people. And all of those things, I would say, people leave feeling like they can elevate themselves, but also their firms. And then ultimately, then we accomplish this mission of Elevate the Industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for our listeners, I also want them to be fully aware that, how sometimes people talk about things as opposed to being about things and actually accomplishing stuff. But the other thing for a lot of people that don't remember that Zweig Group has been an Inc. 500. Now, when it was Inc. 500, only 500 firms, Zweig was an Inc. 500 firm twice, 2 years in a row. I was involved in the company back then. Then when you got involved with the company, we became an Inc. 5000 firm again. So this is not our first rodeo when it comes to these types of events, because we've actually accomplished something that put us on that platform. And you have, like you said, you've created a platform where we can celebrate everybody in the design industry and, get them involved and get them excited about what they're doing.
That's right. And walk away with great ideas. I mean, really, if the attendee can walk away with just one or two powerful takeaways, that's huge return on investment. And as we know, and many of the leaders who are there understand that it is a big sacrifice to take out 2 or 3 days to go to a conference. But that investment in yourself is also an investment in the firm.
Yeah.
And that's where you get away and you really think about the business at a high level. And you can learn from people that are doing really neat things, whether it was something that got them an award or just other practices that are happening in their firms. Just you hear from a discussion around the lunch table.
Yeah.
And that stuff happens throughout the event. And we do try really hard to create a great experience over what this is actually going to be a 3-day event, because we have our M&A Next pre-conference symposium on Wednesday, a full-day event really around what's happening and what's next in the mergers and acquisition space in AEC, which is huge right now. And that's a new program, right? Because you did Elevate Her was last year. That was kind of that Wednesday before the event was focused on Elevate Her. This year, you're doing M&A. Yeah, and Elevate Her is its own event, the Elevate Her Symposium. And so this year, we had the opportunity to put M&A Next as the pre-conference symposium. But sometimes we rotate those in and out. This is our third M&A Next program that's in person. And so we've put these together. And then following Thursday and Friday is the Elevate AEC conference at the Omni PGA Frisco Resort, which
I hear is phenomenal.
Only in Texas do they build something like this.
Yes.
I did a hard hat tour of this resort just 2.5 months ago. So it is freshly open, brand new, and it's unbelievable.
Man, you're making me want to go now, and I can't go, and it's just it's all right. But I know you'll represent for the rest of us that can't be there. So
there'll be plenty of fun had by many people.
Absolutely. No, that's very true. And you bring up a bunch of good points. I do want to take an aside, because you are, and I always joke with you, you're constantly on an airplane. You know the inside of just about every American Airlines plane.
That's right.
In their fleet. What would you say specifically about M&A right now in this space and time in 2023? Why is it such an important topic? I mean, we get it. There's a lot of consolidation in the industry, but what are you seeing that has caused you to say, you know what, we need to continue to beat this drum so that everybody's completely aware of this process, what it looks like? Because firms are getting calls every day about possible opportunities to join with somebody or to be purchased by somebody. So what is your current experience as it pertains to that?
Well, I think part of it is, and hopefully we can take partial credit for beating the drum of acquisitions are a path to growth, are a way to grow and create value. And I would say if there's a theme of this year's conference, especially with M&A Next being next to Elevate AEC, it's entrepreneurship, right? Creating value, driving growth. And the industry's getting that. And, you know, of course, everybody talks about private equity. Private equity's interest in AEC, you know, started years ago, certainly is driving a lot of interest. But again, I would say the more inspired aspect of it is firm leaders get that either buying other companies or even potentially joining another company as a seller is a path to growth and driving value for everybody in the company. And I think that's a great way to look at it. And so we're thrilled to be a part of that and to have such a long legacy of M&A in this industry. I would say Mark Zweig was probably the grandfather of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wrote the book on it, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, and he's told the stories. And I know you've mentioned some of those stories when you talk about people like Jerry Allen from Carter and Burgess and the kind of people where you would just say, hey, here's a firm you need to go see. And he'd be on the next plane smoking, heading over there to check out the firm and then call you back like 2 or 3 days later saying, listen, we did the deal. Right. You know, thank you. And that's kind of the way that it is. Now, it has changed a lot because there's a lot of intel and data that goes into the decision-making process when it comes to M&A. You know, and I think of people like that are in the Zweigosphere, like Ozzie Nelson from Nelson and Chris Huckabee. I mean, people that have literally, not overnight, but in a short period of time have, you know, they're very entrepreneurial, have a very entrepreneurial mindset. They treat their people well. They know how to lead and get out of the way and let other people lead. And they've just grown by leaps and bounds. And those are two prime examples of companies that have just, like, in the last 5 or 6 years have just, I mean, I don't even know what the exact figure is, but their level of growth is astounding. And we are seeing that across the board. Right. And we have to celebrate that because, again, growth, you talk about growth in the halls of a firm that there's a lot of people who feel overworked or very busy. Growth solves those problems. It does. Right? It gives you the resources to grow out of, you know, being stuck where everybody's busy, overworked, and trying to dig out of, you know, what is a great scenario for the AEC industry. It's historic. It's doing better than it's ever done in the 30 plus years of data that we've got on our books. And it's amazing to see what one can do with a degree or training that leads to a career in this industry. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm excited about it. So can you tease maybe a little bit of, I mean, when you see the lineup of keynote speakers that you're having, and so I know that there's going to be some breakout sessions just to give people an idea. You will come to this event. Hopefully you'll come early for the Wednesday M&A Next Symposium. There'll be a welcome reception that Wednesday evening. From a time perspective, that's September 13th. On September 14th, you guys will have a welcome and state of the industry. And there'll be several keynotes both on Thursday and Friday. And I would, you know, I'd love for you maybe just to give us a sneak peek into some of the people that are coming, maybe some of the topics that they're talking about that you're really excited about. I know you're excited about all of them. So. Yeah, well, this year, there's much to celebrate, including that this is the first year that we've done this since the pandemic, where it's not a pandemic anymore, right? Right, right. Yeah, that's true. And that's neat. And so we've got a lot of space. We can handle a big crowd. We've got an incredible lineup of speakers. And this year, we've really just tried to be extra intentional about every moment that the attendees are there, that they get high return on that investment, sure. Right? So we've got 3 notable keynotes, I would say, and we've got panelists, and we've got 9 breakout sessions in 3 different. So we actually honed those in
and refine those to where every breakout is like, no matter what you choose, if you choose something that you believe you'll be interested in, it'll be really powerful. We're excited because we've got Harry Clark this year. He's the best-selling author of Mistakes Millionaires Make. Mm-hmm. A book that stands out from the rest, I would say, and it's what it says, fortune-saving recommendations and insights into the risk that all entrepreneurs face every day. So you don't have to be a millionaire, right, or have millions to walk away with practical advice to avoid failure, but also just live a better financial future. So I think that'll be something that again is something that attendees can see how they can apply this in not only their personal life but their professional life. We've also got Belanley Williams-Ollie. She's going to open up day 2 with a Z Talk on bold leaders, bold firms, and I met her back at our Elevate Her symposium back in February and was blown away.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She is amazing. And
I've shared the stage with her. She's great. She's an author. Mancini Duffy is an outstanding firm.
Yes.
That whole team over there is just simply special. And she is part of that.
She is. So. And when I saw her speak at Elevate Her, I immediately I want her on the Elevate stage to a broader audience. And we had a great talk last month about really what this event is aiming towards. And she came back with something I'm like, this is going to hit perfect, right square center for the audience. So she's really going to talk about, bold leadership. And again, I think it ties to that entrepreneurship theme. And then last but not least, we're going to have Bill McConnell, CEO of Vertex. I've spoken with him on the stage several years in a row. It started back in 2019. Then we did a few virtual versions of Elevate together.
And Bill's been on the podcast too. So
yes,
yeah, so
he brings incredible insight into what's happening in the industry, but also the economy as a large, and really makes it powerful for the attendees. And so we're going to share the stage and open up again. And we say we kind of do a macro and micro view of the industry, where I start and talk about data of the people who are there. Like, this is your data. This is the people in this room. This is what it represents. And then he zooms out and talks about the more macro economy, what's happening in the industry. And after several years of this, it's amazing how he's really hit the nail on the head and is able to see kind of where we're going as an industry. So I'm excited to share the stage with Bill. And then the breakouts, again, we're trying to be really intentional about every breakout. There's one that's going to be really neat. We're doing a launch of a leadership coaching program where one of the breakout sessions will actually be the in-person launch of that. Oh. You'll have to sign up ahead of time, but the program's aimed at top leadership, and I would say entrepreneurs of AEC firms, with the goal of improving social and cognitive skills through strategic self-awareness. So we're really hitting on that, burnout, whether it's or mental health, whether it's not the leader, but also what can you do for your company?
Sure.
And what's interesting is we're going to make this program, which is going to be 4 sessions. So we'll have 3 sessions following this, where you'll get one-on-one interaction with the program facilitator, a PhD doctor from the University of Arkansas. And the program's actually going to be funded through a grant.
Oh.
So attendees will only have to pay for this initial assessment. It's like $195. And they'll get the rest of the program and all the coaching and consulting fees waived as part of the grant. So it's really, really a neat thing that we're trying to expand what we're doing, and not just a 1-hour breakout session where you walk away with something, but something that actually was going to have several follow-ups with an end goal that's a pretty big, neat, I think, value for the attendees.
Is there a max number of participants for that?
There are. We're going to cap it at 35.
Okay.
So you're going to have to sign up.
So it'll be a small cohort or a small group of folks.
It will be.
Yeah.
It will be. And
Very
the first
intimate.
is in person where everybody's together, but then the following sessions are one-on-one.
Okay.
So really valuable.
Yeah.
And it's also, again, part of research. So you're going to gain new insights. I mean, that's like ahead of, I would say, of its time, but I would say it's coming out of the research. So it's not just something you're going to read on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
right?
No. I mean, I think that's important. And, that's actually a practice that Zweig Group has always been strong in. And that is, being in the ear of leaders and helping them to navigate the difficult waters of running a company.
Right.
In a lot of different areas. Right. And so, I think of you from a strategy and from a pure leadership perspective. I think of Tracy Eves from a valuation perspective, Will Swearingen from just a wide range of things that he's able to do on his side of things. And so there is always an opportunity to continue to help folks in this industry to be better at what they do. And so a program like this, where you get these mentors that work with you one-on-one, is extremely valuable. And just the simple fact that you guys were able to negotiate a grant for this, I think is pretty exciting too, right? Because typically people are just expecting, okay, what's, how many, is this a 5-figure deal, or what is this going to cost me?
Right.
And I see this as part of this. It goes back to elevating the industry, right? And if you can elevate these 35 individuals, then that's part and parcel of what you're trying to do on a larger perspective.
Right. And then we get to use the insights that they provide to then build an even better program in the future. We've also got a couple of panel discussions where we hand select different award winners and around topics. The Best Firms panel this year is going to be around workplace flexibility, obviously a hot topic.
Yeah.
We're going to talk, beyond the hybrid work model, how do we engage staff in today's work environment? And then the Hot Firms panel is going to focus on AI. And we're going to, which there's a lot of talk about it.
There is.
And again, we at Zweig Group are trying to be very intentional about what messaging, what content, what direction we're giving with our position in the industry, and not jumping on bandwagons. There's a lot of them out there on AI.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of distracting information. And so we're going to assemble a panel of folks that are actually using this in their firm. And again, I think that AI, you embrace it as a way to help us solve or at least relieve the recruiting and retention issue, which is, it's at a crisis level. It has been for several years.
Yeah.
No end in sight. And I think what you'll see when infrastructure dollars really start hitting the market later this year, an overheated industry is just going to heat things up even more. And so anywhere we can get tools and resources to help us with that is very valuable. And it couldn't have come at a better time, I would say. Yeah,
no, I agree with that. And you're absolutely right. And I know you guys have already done a couple of webinars on AI, and you're going to continue to do that. And I just think AI is, obviously we know it's kind of the next level of things, but it does improve our workflow. It improves just our ability to be doing multiple things at one time. So, a lot of people are cautious because they don't know how to use it. But I think once you get some of that basic instruction, basic understanding, what is a prompt, how to do that, it will make all the difference in the world. And again, you guys are right there addressing the needs that you already know that all the clients and the participants in Elevate AEC have. And you're applying that to this new tool that is everybody's talking about, but not everybody's necessarily using to the most advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much noise out there about it. You see it every single day. Every news outlet's talking about it. And so for the leader really to be able to see, okay, how does this apply to the design industry? How does this apply to my specific firm? What can I use to help, again, bring some relief to the levels of the organization that are really overheated? There are tasks they're doing that if those can be simplified or shortened, then if you just think about what could I do with just 1 extra hour a week?
Yeah.
Well, what if it was 4 extra hours a week?
Right.
Right.
Or 10.
Right.
Yeah.
And so any of those things are powerful when we look at the industry metrics right now.
I mean, just for me personally alone, I have to create show notes for every podcast that I do, whether I'm doing it for me or for a client, or even these podcasts that we do for the Zweig letter. And I use AI as a tool to help me speed up that process. Mm-hmm. And I still massage things. I still add the human touch to it, but there's a lot of information. And the thing is that AI is smart and it can learn, and you can show it, this is how I want it to look. And then it can understand you and kind of go from there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes down the road. So tell me a little bit about this Black Tie Awards Gala, because I know a lot of people hear that aspect of it. And that's part of the celebratory aspect of the Elevate AEC conference. And this is what I tell people they should be coming for too, because this is where you get your flowers, right? As an organization for whatever you're doing. But I would love for you maybe start with some of the different award categories and maybe what it means to receive recognition from an event like this.
Yeah. And celebration, again, one of those pillars of Elevate the Industry mission, we have made that a core part of this conference as well. Why? Because it's important for us to celebrate accomplishment and to share that, because that is when others, and especially if you think about the reach of social media now, and somebody who may be a kid in K through 12 comes across something, sees one of their parents on stage celebrating something, and that inspires, like, this is a fun industry.
Yeah.
Right? There's great things happening. And so that's why celebration is so important. And that's why we do it in such large fashion and of course, my staff laughs about the amount of lights and smoke machines and everything else. But it is, we go all in. It's like the Grammys blended with a rock concert, blended with an awards program, industry awards program. And so we mash that all together and people have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, and I want anybody listening to this, just understand that I think Chad Clinehens missed his calling at some point to run events. I think that if he was running the Oscars, maybe Chris Rock might not have gotten slapped by Will Smith. I just think, no, and I'm being funny now, but the bottom line is that you guys collectively, because it's not just you, but Zweig has been hired by other organizations to run their events. That's how good of an event you put on. And I've been to a lot of them from dating way back. And I don't want to date myself, but I can just remember the level of detail that goes into these events. It's no small feat. And you feel very special when you attend these events. That's why anybody listening to this that's kind of on the fence about going to the Elevate AEC conference this year in Frisco, I think you need to get up off of your blessed assurance and definitely consider coming to this event, because if you've never been, you will thank me later because of the level of just recognition that takes place and how special you'll feel. And honestly, I've talked to people after the fact and they tell me how charged up they are. As a matter of fact, when you talk to people at the end of the Black Tie event, they're like, man, I'm going to be back here next year, bigger and badder. I'm going to get the Marketing and Excellence Award. I'm going to get, I've got some young people. They're going to be rising stars. I've got, I know somebody that's got a top new venture. There are all kinds of opportunities to let folks know that, hey, we're here and we're doing some amazing things.
Yeah, I think you captured it. It is about the positive energy that is generated there is mind-blowing, really. And it is. And we want our events to be spouse guest friendly and even family friendly, and I would say this year, the resort has something for everyone. It's amazing. It's almost 700 acres and there's almost a little village you can walk through. There's an ice cream shop. There's this Top Golf concept.
Yeah.
Venue. There's different things you can do. The largest putting green in the world called the dance floor. it's again, only in Texas.
That's probably a sight to see. Yeah, absolutely, only in Texas.
But it'll be a lot of fun. And again, it's a lot of positive energy, a lot of celebration, a lot of learning, making new friends and new contexts that can last a lifetime.
Yeah, and speaking of making new friends, networking is one of the biggest tangible benefits of any of these Elevate AEC conferences, is that you can connect with people. I mean, there have been companies that have come to these events and ended up partnering together on projects. There have been companies that have come to these events and ended up becoming part of an M&A acquisition because of the event. There have been like-minded companies on different sides of the country that are like, oh, we're doing this over here in California. You're doing this here in Georgia. Trade notes and sharing strategy. I mean, there are very few rooms that you can be in where you can connect with that many people and gain that much insight and understanding. Am I wrong?
Oh, it happens everywhere. It happens in the breaks while you're eating breakfast. It doesn't just, you don't have to go to just a networking event, right? Yeah. It's the entire experience provides something for everyone.
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely. Yeah. So listen, as we wind this up, and we certainly want to get people excited about participating in this event, if people are like, they're chomping at the bit saying, okay, Randy, Chad, how do I register for this event? What do I need to do to attend this event? Is there a special if I want to bring, most of my team? How do I do that?
Yeah, so go to our website and there's a special for taking 3 or more people, and that's all programmed in there. You can select the Elevate AEC conference and you can bundle it with M&A Next if you're interested in both events, and that's discounted. And you can also just come to the gala. There's some that come to the gala.
Sure.
Or they bring certain people for the gala. And so all of those things are available, yes, on the website.
And remind them that the gala is actually on Thursday night. You know, when you come to a lot of these events, the gala is on Friday night. So then that means Saturday. So this is Thursday night. And I would have to say that you were thinking about people's families and other aspects that people have to consider when they come to events like these, so that you can get back home for the weekend,
right?
You know, which is huge. And so I think it's important to remember that.
It is. And I'm glad you brought that up, because historically it was always on Friday night. And we just started this back in 2021 is when we piloted this Thursday night gala and got so much positive feedback about it. We were like, okay, it's not as easy on the team delivering it.
Yes, no, I understand.
It's a pretty intense day. Yeah. It was kind of nice to have that on Friday night, but certainly with everybody's families and travel schedules in mind, this allows you to experience the entire event. And we're done at 2:30 on Friday. You're 38 minutes from either Dallas, Love Field, or DFW. It's equidistant from both. And as you know, you can get almost anywhere in the world on a direct flight from Dallas. And so you could potentially even be home in time for dinner.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge to think about. I would encourage everyone to be thinking about making plans for this. And again, if you go to the Zweig Group website, zweiggroup.com, that's CWEIG group.com, and you'll just scroll down and you'll see the greetings from Elevate AEC in Frisco, Texas. Just click on that where it says learn more and register now. And you can definitely do that. Now, Chad, I'm going to put you on the spot. For our podcast listeners, for the tried and true diehard, is there any kind of discount you can offer them if they mention the podcast?
Well, I think we could probably do 10% off.
Okay, there you go. You've heard it first right here from Chad Clinehens himself, a discount of 10% off if you mention that you heard about it on the podcast. You got to mention that. So those of you, because I know we have some tried and true listeners, because I talk to you all the time on LinkedIn, and I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. We've been running this podcast since 2016, so I can't believe it's been almost 7 years. It's crazy when you think about it. 200 plus episodes. We certainly want to give you something for being a loyal listener. So you heard it first. This is from the CEO. So if anybody gives you any trouble when you call into Zweig Group's office, just tell them Chad said I get 10% off because I'm a podcast listener, and then we'll take it from there. But we really, really appreciate all of you that are listening today to consider coming to the Elevate AEC Conference and Awards Gala, which is going to take place there in Frisco, Texas. And I also want to just give a shout out to the sponsors of the event. So CTA, Corporate Tax Advisors, they're one of the sponsors. These are the main sponsors. Uninet is another. Clayton and McCurvey. Did I pronounce that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yep. Perfect. Yeah. So are there any other sponsors that you'd like to mention?
Yes, there are some others that we are working on right now. I believe Open Asset is going to be one of the sponsors.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And so
there's several others pending.
Yeah. And those additional sponsors will be announced as we move forward and everything gets finalized. But as we're recording this, we're just about 2 months from the event. So this episode's going to come out pretty quickly. When you hear it, share it with your friends, share it with the rest of your team, and bring your whole team. You know, I mean, Chad would love to meet you and connect with you. And I think you'll find that these are 2 or 3 days that would be well worth taking some time away from the office and taking a time to refresh yourself with new ideas, new inspiration, and just some great friendships. And we'll have all of those listed on the show notes, so that way people that want to learn more about some of these sponsors. And we've had Uninet on, we've had CTA on the podcast actually a couple of times. And I mean, they are saving people millions of dollars. So, I've actually used CTA with a company that I'm involved with that has actually nothing to do with the design industry, but they do some services. They're legit. They know, I mean, Dawson and the rest of that team over there, they are amazing. Beth and those guys are really good. And I think I'll have to work on getting Clayton and McCurvey on the podcast to talk with them about some of their offerings and how they're helping the design industry on a regular basis. So
absolutely.
Yeah, that'll be good. So, but Chad, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know you've got a lot going on. We really appreciate this. And like I said, we need to do this more often just to hear from you and to hear some of the new things that are happening, because I know that you always have your ear to the ground. You're out there like doing this on a daily basis. So you're not just, you're just talking about it. You're actually practicing what you preach from a consultant standpoint. And so I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. And we look forward to hearing, just some of the feedback from this event taking place in September of 2023.
Great. Thank you so much for having me here and talking about something that I love dearly, which is this conference, this gathering of professionals, and I would say our friends. And I'm really looking forward to our time together in September.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. My only wish is that I could be there, but I can't this year. And hopefully maybe next year we'll work something out. But I'm sure I will get some updates, and folks that go that I send there will be sure to tell me about how much of a great time that they had there. So, but thank you so much, Chad.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, folks, that's another episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. You need to get excited about this Elevate AEC conference coming up in September 2023 in Frisco, Texas. It's the 13th, 14th, and 15th. I'm encouraging you, get your tickets now. Let them know when you call into Zweig Group that you heard about it first here on the podcast and get your 10% discount. And, just come down and spend a couple of days with the great folks at Zweig Group. You will not be disappointed. To learn more about one of the oldest newsletters in the design industry, visit zweiggroup.com. That's the Zweig Letter, of course. And you can read articles online, listen to this podcast, and you can sign up for a free subscription to the newsletter and have it delivered right into your email inbox every Monday morning. Make sure you sign up today. For more info about Zweig Group's advisory services or any of Zweig Group's publications, visit zweiggroup.com. You can subscribe to the Zweig Letter Podcast wherever you listen to it, and please consider rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. I'm your host, Randy Wilburn, and we'll see you back here soon for another new episode of the Zweig Letter Podcast. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Zweig Letter Podcast. We hope that you can be part of elevating the industry and that you can apply our advice and information to your daily professional life. For a free digital subscription to the Zweig Letter, please visit thezweigletter.com/subscribe to gain more wisdom and inspiration, in addition to information about leadership, finance, HR, and marketing your firm. Subscribe today.